Good evening from PLUGHITZ Studios in Largo, Florida. I'm Scott.
I'm Abram.
And we are here with episode 509 of F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, for October 15th, 2018. This show is a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. This week, Facebook wants to watch you cook, Microsoft wants to help you game, and Warner Media wants to stream its own content. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on our live streaming platforms, which are livestream.com, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Mixer, Twitch, and Periscope, on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or for a short while, Google+, through syndication on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the Podcast Play app in the Windows Store, the myriad of other podcatchers like Spotify and TuneIn Radio, or of course on our apps, PLUGHITZLive.com/apps. Thank you for making us a part of your day. Like I said, this here is F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, the flagship show on the PLUGHITZ Live family of content. We are... Oh my goodness. We are normally live on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. And when we're live, you can join us live in the studio by going to PLUGHITZLive.com/join us. And there you can chat with us in the studio and give us your take on the topics as we talk about them. And we always appreciate that, especially during the Pilch Point, which will be on in just a little bit. Where Abram will talk about some of the Intel stuff that we learned about, but we like to hear your ideas on the topics as we talk about them all show long. If you can't join us live, that is okay. You can always go to PLUGHITZLive.com/subscribe, which, by the way, has been redone this week. And from there, you will see all of our shows and all of the feeds available, including F5 Live and the Pilch Point, both available in HD and in audio. And then you'll also see shows like First Looks, our special events feeds, also available in both, and a lot more. I think that is the spiel. Oh my goodness, Abram. How are you tonight?
I'm all right. It's been a long week so far. It's last week, but
yeah,
I'm okay. I had some good progress on my Raspberry Pi projects.
Excellent.
So that's been good. Behind me over here is the latest prototype of my Window to Scotland project.
Oh yeah.
Which I pretty much have working, except I got to figure out the best way. So I mentioned this because perhaps there are folks in the audience who would have ideas about this. You don't even necessarily need to be a Raspberry Pi person, maybe just a handy person. The best way to kind of mount the Raspberry Pi Zero board. So what the project is, for those who don't know, is I'm going to create I'm calling it a virtual window to Scotland. My coworker, Matt, loves Scotland. He goes there a couple times a year, and when he's not there, he's watching a series of streaming webcams from Shetland in the Scottish Highlands. So like you can go to this website, shetlandwebcams.com, any time of day, and you can see like 12 different views of Shetland. One is a cliff, a couple of them are like the middle of the town, and you can see people walking around, and like, if it's late at night, it'll be dark with a few lights, and if it's the middle of the day, it's like being there,
Okay.
So, well, I wouldn't say it's exactly like being there, but
Sure.
if you're missing a faraway place, that can make you feel a little bit more like you're there. So
Sure.
He already watches this all the time because he keeps like a second monitor with it on it. Like that's how much he likes it. And I was thinking, what if I made a Raspberry Pi thing that would do just this? And what I would do is attach a Raspberry Pi. Now I've decided a Raspberry Pi Zero, a 0W, because those are the really small Raspberry Pis.
Sure.
They're really easy to mount places. Plus, I can buy I bought one of those for $5, so it's not
bad.
getting rid of it for a project doesn't feel as bad as the $30 one or the $35 one.
Right.
So um, so I fixed it. So what I wanted to do is get it so that the board will just boot up and it will show a live stream of these cams, and there'll be like a little channel dial that he can turn on it to like change the channel and see it different, because there's like 12 or 13 of these different views.
Okay.
So not too complicated. So I set it up with the Raspberry Pi, and I got the pins. I soldered pins onto the Raspberry Pi Zero W, and then I used the pins to connect to a potentiometer, which is for those who don't know, is a dial, right? Fancy word, it's a dial. But you need to put an analog to digital converter chip on it, because dials give an analog signal, and the Raspberry Pi doesn't have analog input. So anyway, I did all that, and I pretty much got it working, although it's really slow when you change channels. There's like a 10-second lag when it like reloads it loads a new feed. So there's that. And then with the dial, you can't necessarily always tell what channel you're on until you stop. You wait the 10 seconds and you see it. So I'm thinking of switching it to buttons and doing something to show like what channel you're on, maybe giving it like a number or something. Maybe put a little LED screen with a channel number on it or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it just keeps, so you have a left and right button or something, because the potentiometer, while I like the idea of it, isn't, it's hard to tell where you're at.
Right.
But the issue that I'm having, the biggest issue that I have is like how I'm going to mount this.
Sure.
So easy enough to put some wires together on a breadboard and spread them across my desk. But I want to fix this so it looks nice and I can mount it on. We have an old Dell monitor at work that we're going to use for this, but it could have been any monitor.
Okay.
And I wanted to mount that on the wall. It has a Visa plate, so I figure I would get some kind of Visa hanger for the wall. But then the Pi and the dial or the buttons, like what do I put those in and how do I mount those?
Right.
That's what I'm trying to figure out now.
Okay. So if people have any ideas on how Avram can mount the Raspberry Pi, which one did you say?
It's a zero W. If you really want to, I don't want to like take the whole show about it, but it.
Okay.
Oops.
Yeah.
It's connected. This little thing here is the Raspberry Pi Zero W. It's the size of a USB stick, and it costs, usually it costs $10, but there's a store around here called Micro Center that sells them for $5.
Very nice.
So it's it's the best deal in computing. Mind you, it's not as powerful as the regular Raspberry Pi, but for doing something like showing a video, it actually is pretty okay. And for a lot of the other things that you might want to do with the Raspberry Pi, like create a little video game center or whatever, it's actually pretty good too.
A joke suggestion came in from the chat room to use some push pins.
It would work. It would work to get it. There are holes in it to mount. For those who don't know, there are holes on the sides to mount, and a push pin probably would, but I don't know if it's good for it to be like smushed against the wall with a push pin.
Sure.
But then let's keep in mind that I'm probably going to put a board on top of it, like connected to the pins, which will have like the dial or the LED or the buttons or the LCD on it. So like, I guess the point is, what I really guess I want is some type of a box or something that I can hang on the wall that I can put them in, where you don't see all of the guts. You just see the parts that you need to see, like the buttons and the screen.
Sure.
So.
Well, if anybody has any suggestions, you can reach us on any of the social media. You want to get directly to him, find the Pilch Point on Facebook and send us a message over there. That'll be a great way for us to find out your ideas.
Yeah, I'd be really curious, and if anybody gives a good idea, we'd talk about it on the next show.
Cool.
So that would be that'd be cool. But I really enjoy that, and I encourage everybody to get to play with Raspberry Pi if you get a chance, because there's a chance to do cool stuff just because you can.
Yeah, for sure. Those little micro boards are a lot of fun. With that, let's get into some news.
Yeah.
This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. If you haven't heard, there's a whole new line of Surface devices. There's the Surface Pro 6. There's the new Surface Studio 2. There's a Surface Laptop 2. And the new black color is great. It makes me sad that this one is so bright and silvery. I wish this one was as wonderful as the new finishes, but that's not all. There's a whole lot more. You can get an Xbox One S or One X. You can get VR, AR, mixed reality headsets, and you can even get phones like the Samsung Galaxy S9 and more. All of that is available by going to f5live.tv/Microsoft. Don't forget, students get 10% off. So, if you're not aware that a lot of people are a little down on Facebook right now, then you have, I don't know, you probably been living on another planet, because it has been a topic of conversation for 8 months now, maybe, since before the Cambridge Analytica issues, but certainly since then. And, you know, it seems like every time we turn around, there's another interesting new piece of information, like the data breach that happened a couple of weeks ago that we didn't cover because we weren't on the air. But, yeah, I don't know if you guys were affected. I was logged out of all of my stuff. And it obviously, for me, that's a much bigger deal than for most people, because auto publishing and all of that went away from me. So, you know, for me especially, my feelings on Facebook are souring, but it seems to be a general feeling right now. They're seeing their usage decline and things like that. And so with that, they made a strange announcement this week in a new piece of hardware, which they are calling the Facebook Portal. The Portal is a smart screen. There's nothing particularly special or even sexy about it. The Plus looks interesting. It's shaped weird. But, you know, it's a smart screen. Everybody's got them. Not you. I mean, all the companies that have assistants pretty much have some sort of a smart screen in one way or another. And, you know, you can make video calls through, you know, Skype or FaceTime or, you know, whatever, Google Hangouts, whatever service is available on it. In this case, it's Facebook Messenger. But really the thing that makes this interesting is the timing of the release and the amount of marketing that the company has put into trying to convince people that it's a private device. In fact, if you go to portal.facebook.com, which is the marketing page for the product, there is only one link that takes you off of the main page, and it takes you to an entire page about nothing but privacy on the device. It is the only secondary page on the entire domain. It's all about privacy. And it talks about, like, it comes with one of those little webcam covers, which, you know, who cares? A piece of tape accomplishes that too. But it also talks about how Facebook can't see or hear your video conversations. And obviously companies have made claims like that before at varying levels of accuracy. I just can't imagine that now is the time to release this. Obviously, a lot of time and money has gone into developing this piece of hardware. so they're not just going to sit on it. But what do you think, Abram? Is it just me, or is this like the weirdest time ever to release something like this?
See, here's the interesting thing. I actually kind of think this is a very interesting product. I actually think this could be a very if it if it operates as advertised,
Sure.
could be a very compelling product. Because but obviously the timing in terms of Facebook is not great. But
Right.
I mean, they still have a very compelling argument to make. Yes, look, people like you and me probably not as impressed as we could be, but I'm very interested in how good the quality of this like AI camera is
Me
that's
too.
supposed to follow you around the room.
If
So
if it's even half as good as the video that they show, uh, they'll need to license that technology, because I would love to have my cameras be able to do that on the show.
right, exactly. So the thing is, there's a lot. I think there's a lot of usefulness to this. And look, we've been how many years were people talking about video phones?
Uh huh.
And we
When when Epcot redid its main thing in like the late '90s and created that whole interventions thing, there was a whole display of nothing but video phones, and it was the only place you could use them.
funny thing about Epcot, I don't know if it's changed in the last few years. Last time I was there, they kept talking about things that are coming in the future as if like, and some of them are probably already here.
Yeah.
Like they didn't update anything. Um, it was the same as when I was a kid and went there. But anyway, um, I digress. I mean, yes, you and I are talking on a video call right now, and we could do this on a phone too.
Sure.
So yay, we have video calling, but I don't do a lot of video calls. I mean, I guess we do video. I do them for meetings and things like that. But like, you just don't like socially. I don't socially do them. Um, but if but this sort of thing seems like you could really hang out with a person for a while.
Uh huh.
It doesn't like because the thing about video calls, you got to sit there in front of the computer or on your phone or whatever. Like this is right in your living room or your
Right.
kitchen or something. You could be chatting with somebody while you're cooking or whatever. A lot of things like you do while and like there's a bit of a. I mean, I really like the idea of telepresence, right?
Yeah.
Um,
That's been
I
that's been an interesting topic for you for a little while.
Yeah, I really like the idea. Now, mind you, how close can you get to, there's nothing like being there,
Right.
but
Right.
how close can you get when you have someone who's like a remote employee or something in your business, and you want to have them have the feeling of being in the office? Like we have two people in my job who are like not, who live far away, and so they don't come to the office. So I really wish I could put up a screen on screen like in the middle of the work area or something where they could kind of see everything, see everybody around, and we could sort of see them, and they could just sort of be working there all day.
Sure.
This seems like, this is made for the home, but this seems like something that it, kind of gives you more of a feel of being there if it functions as they say.
Sure.
So the fact that it's from Facebook is unfortunate. On the other hand, using Facebook Messenger is not unfortunate because so many people have it.
Yeah.
It's a good platform for this because so many people have it
That's
and
true.
already use it.
Yeah, like regularly, just during the day. Absolutely. And from a technology standpoint, there's definitely a lot of interestingness to it, especially that camera. In my article, I even wrote about how impressed I am. If that camera works half as well as they say it does, I'm gonna be excited about it. But yeah, it just seems like it seems like an unfortunate time for Facebook to do this.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see Google do it. I mean, you have things like Lenovo has the smart screen that is a Google. I think that has a cam on it. I think there's at least one or two devices that let you do like Google Hangouts or something from your living room. But a lot of people aren't on that all the time.
Yeah.
So like, unfortunately, Facebook is probably the most universal chat client around right now.
Yeah, probably.
Um, I would kind of like an independent device that let me do this across different services.
Uh-huh.
But I guess we'll have to see. But I'm really curious about the camera
Yeah.
technology and just like the ease of it. Um, it's not. I don't. Apart from my coworkers right now, I don't have a lot of people that I'm like, hey, let's just talk for 3 hours.
Uh-huh.
But I just don't have those type of conversations anymore, even with people who live with me. But anyway, um, it's I don't know. It just seems like a really compelling social tool for people who have people who are far away and they want to like be there. So I'm curious to see how it works. Yeah, Facebook has really sullied their reputation, but this is a good product idea, and I think there's still room for them to succeed with a good idea.
Yeah, because like the Echo Show has video chatting, but you have to talk to somebody else who has one, which
Yeah.
totally limits its appeal. Whereas with this, a Portal can talk to an Android or whatever. It doesn't care where the other person is, so that makes it even more compelling. Um, it'll just be interesting to see if having the Facebook name on it sullies it at all, as far
And
as people are concerned.
Echo Show doesn't have this special camera either.
Right.
So like
Right.
that's, yes, video calls are around, but like I'm really curious about this camera technology. I think to me that's the interesting piece. If it's not there, if there's nothing special about the camera angles that it gets and things like that, then anybody could create such a thing and
Yeah.
without Facebook's help.
Yeah.
You
For
could create
sure.
you could use a Raspberry Pi and create one.
Right. Right. Exactly. Because I mean, you could do a Raspberry Pi and Windows 10 IoT Core almost, because the one of the Skype clients has an auto follow feature. Most Logitech cameras have it built in. It's just, is it as good as Facebook says it is?
Yep.
Because if it is, ooh, that that's the thing that's going to set it apart.
Yep.
This week's Pilch Point with Avram Pilch is proudly powered by Newegg. Whether you're building a new computer, upgrading an existing one, or getting a older laptop back up and running, Newegg has all the parts to help you do that, from power supplies and processors, motherboards, video cards, SSDs, and a whole lot more. And they offer a daily deal. In fact, right now they have an Asus ROG Strix laptop for $12.79, which is about $250 off a normal, which is a pretty good deal. But every day they change, so you can find out what the daily deals are and shop all of the the catalog by going to pilchpoint.live/Newegg. So, Avram, it's been a little while since we've been on, and so some stuff has happened.
A fair amount. A fair amount, with I'm sure a lot more to come, because we're getting into crunch time for holiday season. So new products is just kind of a narrow window for companies to get in, to get their stuff in and have people be buying it in time for holiday. Now, I have to say, we should all be kind of honest with ourselves. Who is buying somebody, and if who is buying somebody like a $600 CPU or a $2,000 computer with a $600 CPU in it for the holidays. If you're gifting people this, please let's be friends, good friends.
Right.
The I think a lot of people are gifting themselves these things. So why it has to come out in the exact time for the holiday season is, questionable. But it is the time of year when people do the most shopping and spend the most money. So everything is kind of geared toward
Supporting
this
that.
season, toward supporting that. So we're in the middle of October now. Stuff needs to be out like really, really soon, or else to miss the season. So Intel, we've heard about NVIDIA's cards. Those are rolling out, the new NVIDIA RTX cards. And now we also have some new CPUs. We also know AMD has a couple of new CPUs as part of its existing Ryzen 2000 series. But the real exciting news is, drum roll please, Intel's 9th Gen Core chips, otherwise known as Coffee Lake Refresh. These are desktop CPUs so far. No word yet on laptop versions of them. And there's three of them. There's the Core i5 9600K, the Core i7 9700K, and the Core i9 9900K. So
Ooh.
the 9900K has 8 cores. This is a step up from the last generation where there was 8. It was 6 cores. It has 8 cores with 16 threads, and operates at a base frequency of 3.6 gigahertz and a boost frequency of 5 gigahertz. It supports up to 128 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, and Intel claims that it is the fastest processor for gaming ever, and on the market now. So interesting that Intel said that to support. So I was at the launch event last Monday, where Intel introduced these new chips along with a new Xeon chip for workstations and servers, and a new X series chip that had 28 cores. Or is it the Xeon that had 28 cores? I think it was the X series chip that had 28 cores, but those are really for either workstations or servers, not particularly, most regular end users who are gaming and doing productivity work.
Sure.
So the Core i9, they claim is significantly faster, significantly higher frame rates than, say, AMD's closest competitor, which would be the Ryzen 2700X. And Intel hired a company called Principled Technologies, which is a benchmark company, to do side-by-side comparisons. So I'm just going to read you some of it. So
it's never a good sign when you feel you have to read it exact.
So where do we have this? So basically, there were a number. So for example, these tests showed, Intel's, and these are supposedly with the same GPU and the same SSD, the same power supply. Obviously, can't have the same motherboard from AMD to Intel.
Sure.
But Intel's i9 got, like on Counter-Strike, Global Offensive, got 440 FPS to 295 on the AMD chip. Now, granted, can you even see more than 295 frames per second? That's an open question. On like Assassin's Creed Origin, it got a 30% higher benchmark score. On Forza Motorsport, it got 50 frames per second more. On Ashes of the Singularity, it got 18 frames per second, which in this case was like 30% more. So according to the numbers that Intel showed everybody, wow, this CPU really makes a difference in gaming, which is a huge portion of the audience is going to be interested in. Well, when people read the fine print of how Principal Technologies tested, there was a big controversy because some of the things that they did were not were not favorable to AMD. So, three things. First, on the AMD chip, they used the stock cooler, but on Intel's chip, they used a really nice aftermarket cooler. Now, their excuse for this, I mean, these things actually to me seem like probably an honest mistake, which is that one of them came with, although they should have known better, the AMD one comes with a cooler and the Intel one does not. So you have to buy an aftermarket cooler for the Intel one.
Got it.
But that's making it. But the better you're cooled, for those who don't know, the better cooled your CPU is, the higher speed it will reach, and therefore the faster it will go. So the cooling was not apples to apples. They overclocked the RAM on the Intel computer, but not on the AMD one. And finally, they ran the AMD chip, and they said that AMD had recommended that they do this, but if AMD said that, that wasn't very smart. That they ran it in something called game mode. Well, game mode is, so we all are familiar, a lot of us have heard of game mode on Windows 10. This is not that. This is something for AMD chips only that I think you enable through the BIOS or through software that shuts off half of the cores. So an 8-core processor only uses 4 cores. Why would you do that? The reason that they have such a thing, that they have game mode, it sounds good, like, oh, for games, game mode, so I'll turn on. So that's why they probably did it. But it's meant for the Threadripper processors. So you have a processor that has like 32 cores.
Right.
Well, that actually at some point actually hurts games. Like they get, I don't know if it's overwhelmed or something. Like having all the cores actually hurts the performance.
They end up the processor actually spends more of its time managing the threads back and forth than it does actually performing calculations. There's a certain point where you do more work managing than you do actual work, and
isn't that an argument against the whole against having 32 cores in the first place?
If you're doing that kind of thing, absolutely.
So anyway, most games do not use that many cores. So I don't know how much, even 4 cores maybe was enough. I don't know, but they did run game mode, which turned off 4 of the cores. And they did not turn off the cores on the Intel, let me tell you that. So for those reasons, the whole thing became a big controversy. Intel issued a statement saying, we support Principal Technologies, or basically they said, these are consistent with what we got in our lab, not the same. Then Principal Technologies retested, came out with their own statement, said, hey, we think we did a good job, but we're going to thank you for the feedback. We're going to we're going to do some more tests. And they did some more tests, I think, addressing the RAM issue and the game mode issue, like not having game mode on. But they did not change the cooler. So after they did that, the AMD chips did better, but they still didn't do better than Intel.
Okay.
And my guess is that Intel is probably better, all things being fair and equal. We don't know this for a fact, though. But we'll obviously find out when the full reviews come out, and I'll tell you now that Tom's Hardware will have a full review of the Core i9 as soon as we're allowed to publish one. But we will. So people can expect to see expect to see some real test results from journalists such as Tom's Hardware and many of our colleagues, and you should go by those, not by results that are published by the manufacturer. Now, I think honestly that results that are published by the manufacturer, like, they're not just making it up out of whole cloth. So I'm sure the CPU is the Core i9 CPU is really fast, and given that Intel usually performs better on games than AMD, all other things being equal, because of optimizations that for Intel game makers do, and Intel is better at lightly threaded stuff, and most games are lightly threaded. It probably will do better than AMD, but we'll have to see how much better.
Right.
And for the money, is it worth it? Is it worth it? So we'll look forward to seeing that. But the thing is, when you have new processors like this come out, it spurs other things to come out, because the industry still follows Intel. So Intel recently came out with some new laptop processors, which were much less exciting because they were still part of the 8th generation, but they were slightly faster clock speeds, and those were codenamed Whiskey Lake. So the Whiskey Lake processors, were announced, I think, in August or September, and now you're starting to see a whole bunch of refreshes of laptops. Why? The laptop vendors generally hold off on some of their big releases until the new chip is out. So we will see a bunch of new desktop releases. We will see a bunch of new motherboard releases. So, it spurs these obviously everyone's disappointed that Intel has not reached 10 nanometers yet and advanced to really the next level with its chips. But these are still faster than the chips that came before them, and so that's something to be excited about when you keep having better and more performance. And by the way, that 5 gigahertz is nothing. That's the stock, because we were at their event. We saw they had a professional overclocker with liquid nitrogen. So doing liquid nitrogen overclocks is not something most people can do. It's expensive. They usually have teams. Like, I was looking into how easy would it be for us to do it in the office, and people were telling me, like, we had to spend several $100s on like a pot, and then a special pot to hold the liquid nitrogen, and you have to have the thing to funnel the liquid nitrogen, and then you have to buy the liquid nitrogen, right. And you have to get a certain amount, or else nobody will sell it to you, and then you have to and then you should have several different chips on hand for when you inevitably break one. So and to find the best one out of the bunch. So people who are doing this now are mostly sponsored by companies that are or directly work for Intel that are going to give them a bunch of chips and the equipment. But anyway, the guy who was there doing it on behalf of Intel showed us he got it up to 6.9 gigahertz on all 8 cores.
Ooh.
And he said if he was only going for a single core, he could get it up to 7.3 or 7.4. Wow. So, and that's just, and remind you, that was on the day of release that this guy, obviously he got early access to the chip, but to wait until, all the overclockers, get access, somebody could probably beat that because he's just the first. So anyway,
that's crazy.
Now a normal person, you're not even really going to use the computer when you have to pour liquid nitrogen on the CPU every minute. How are you going to game? You're going to be like, hey, wait, freeze, pause. Because it doesn't, like, for those who are not familiar, it's like this smoky stuff, and you gotta like pour it on periodically. You have like a little coffee mug of it or something, and you just keep pouring it like every minute or so. So like, people who do this is to show that they can.
Yeah.
They may be running a benchmark while they do it to show how high the score is. It's like professional hot dog eating or something like.
Yeah. It's not for any kind of productivity.
Don't try this at home. So or try it at home only to do it. So, anyway, exciting times, but obviously the lesson in all of this is, don't believe the spec sheet. Believe objective sites like Tom's Hardware and our colleagues, folks in a non-tech, our sister site, Tech Radar. Like, there's just a lot of people out there who are doing good work, and we're not incentivized to fudge the results. We're incentivized to try, and our job is to try and poke a hole and find out,
right,
like, does this really work as expected? And one number that is always wrong every time is the battery life on laptops. But we could spend all day on that. I'll just leave it at that.
For sure. Well, obviously, you have content about this already from the event. If I remember correctly, you guys were publishing like crazy.
Yeah. Well, it was a big day for us. Plus, we've covered done several articles on the principal technologies controversy. So you can check all that out at tomshardware.com. And, pretty soon those processors are going to hit the market, and you'll see some reviews from us.
Fantastic. Well, we always appreciate it, Avram, since we can't be there, since I can't be in the room. I'm glad that you bring the information to us. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by Razer. All the accessories you need to up your game on both PC and console are available from Razer, whether it be a new keyboard or mouse, or the new Razer Nari wireless gaming headset. You can pre-order the Razer Phone 2, I guess the second phone designed for gamers, since the last one was the first. And then, of course, full systems, webcams, and all kinds of other gaming accessories are all available by going to f5live.tv/Razer. So, last week, we missed the announcement of the Google's Project Stream, which we have heard some things about, back office kind of stuff, that Google was working on a thing, something gaming. We didn't know what it would be. So last week, Google announced the beta for Project Stream that came with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and not to be outdone, Microsoft fulfilled a promise that they made at E3 to bring more information about their game streaming platform in the future. And just a couple of days later, they fulfilled that promise and told us about Project xCloud. I'm making the assumption that the X is for Xbox and the cloud is a short part of Azure Cloud, because this game streaming platform is, of course, powered by Microsoft Azure, as all of Xbox Live is as well. And it is designed to be a little different from what Google's doing right now. Project Stream, at least today, is desktop Chrome browser based. Whereas with xCloud, Microsoft's intention is for you to be able to game wherever you are on just about any device you have. If you can pair a Bluetooth Xbox controller to the device, you're good to go. And they're working on touch controls on top of that. Here's the thing that really sets Project xCloud apart. Developers have to do absolutely nothing to make their game compatible. No additional code. All they have to do is say, let's go. And it is available across the Project xCloud network, which is a really cool capability. What we know right now is that public betas will begin sometime in early 2019. So we've got a couple of months until we see anything about this. My guess is, and it's totally a guess, my guess is the official release date will be announced at E3 2019 and could very well be E3 2019. It's not unusual for Microsoft to say, and it's available now on stage at E3. They did that with at least one Xbox and a number of other products they've done that with. So Microsoft's could be pretty close behind and has some potential. I like the idea that developers don't have to do anything special as opposed to the Xbox Play Anywhere capability, which required developers to either have a special relationship with Microsoft or build it on the Universal Windows platform. This means if it runs on the Xbox One, you're good to go. That's pretty cool.
Well, what if but it's not for PC games?
So I don't know. My guess is that it will also support PC games. But being as it's designed for controller, there are obviously PC games that need that keyboard and mouse interface to make them sing. So they might have to do some work to support controller, but Xbox games require absolutely nothing special.
Well, here's the thing that I wonder about with this. So, like, somewhere we always talk about the cloud as if it's like this magic place, but somewhere there is a server farm.
Yes,
somewhere
it's in Azure,
right? So, in your I have seen. I forget. I don't think GeForce Now is this, but there's a couple of these. So, game streaming services. There's a few of them.
Yep.
And
dating back to OnLive.
Yeah, sure.
Like almost a decade ago now.
Yeah. I'm always worried that someone's going to get it right. I'll be honest with you.
Uh-huh.
Like, it's actually would be like probably good for gamers and consumers, but kind of bad for the fun of building hardware because it would be like, oh, okay, why don't I just use this crap? Like, why don't I just keep using this crappy old computer because I don't need a good computer because
all the hard work is being done somewhere else.
Because the hard work's being done somewhere else. So that's probably good for consumers, but it would take some of the fun out of like owning your own,
And it wouldn't be nearly as much fun for Intel.
Yeah, the funny thing though is that like GeForce is NVIDIA is sort of participating in its own demise by having GeForce Now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They make the service that will put them out of business if it works well enough. But
they also supply themselves with chips for the server farm that powers it. So there's some give or take there.
Yes, but my thought on that, I mean, so interestingly, a couple of years ago, I was at a breakfast with Jensen Huang, who's the CEO of NVIDIA, and we got to ask questions, and that was my question. I was like, well, what do you think about game streaming? Do you think that's a threat to your business? And he said, no, it's no difference to us because if there's game streaming, we still have to supply the video cards. But, on the other hand, I would say if there's a lot of gamers who have their own PCs now, if you're in a server farm you have efficiencies. People are not always using that same GPU, so it's shared. So there's a lot fewer GPUs. There's a lot fewer computers needed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
But
but Microsoft isn't worried about Intel's stock price here.
no, not at all. But here's where this gets interesting for Microsoft with PCs is a lot of these services will tell you what hardware the game has to run on. I think there's a couple of them I forget the name of where it's literally just like a VPN. You log into a computer that has Windows on it and you can install the game that you want.
Blue something. Yeah, I know.
And
I know the one you're talking about. I have an account.
And they tell you what it has. I think it has like a Xeon processor and a certain amount of RAM and a certain video card. So like for Xbox, it's consistent. Whatever the game is, it's as long as it can run on Xbox. Their server farm has it's I don't know if it's literally a bunch of Xboxes, but has the hardware equivalent to be an Xbox.
Sure.
But some of these games that are pushing the envelope with things like ray tracing and stuff like that, like, how do you know that, like, is the streaming service going to have good enough PCs to give you the absolutely maximum
right
performance?
Yeah, almost certainly not. I think they're trying to make above standard gaming available to more people. That's my guess. While bringing, things like Gears and Halo to non-Windows powered devices. To be able to play, Halo 4 on your iPhone. That kind of capability is a fascinating scenario.
My coworker Marshall Honoroff has a great article up on laptopmag.com, and it's about how he used Project Stream to play Assassin's Creed Odyssey on a laptop that is 8 years old.
Okay.
Not even a good 8-year-old laptop, a really crappy one.
Sure.
And he was able to play it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
because essentially, so long as your network connection is good enough, it's almost no different than watching us right now. Because you're essentially just getting a video stream to your device, and you're pushing the occasional, bit here and there upwards, but keyboard and controller commands are irrelevant in the grand scheme of data transfer.
Right. He said his biggest problem, and most people would be past this problem, is the Wi-Fi card was not good. Was not great on his old computer, and therefore
at 8 years old, it was probably a G.
Yes, right. So that's the main issue that he had with his 8-year-old laptop. But for those who have a computer that was bought in the last few years, and maybe even as a bottom line computer, or a computer like mine, which is integrated graphics, like you can game. So
yeah, it'll bring new capabilities to devices that could not support them before, which is kind of cool. Plus, it gives them the ability to bring their franchises to devices that are not theirs. So we don't know price, we don't know availability. We do know that right now the connection speed for xCloud is only a 10 megabit connection to be successful, which is pretty impressive. So your colleague with his probably 54 megabit wireless G would be able to do it, and heck, you might even be able to do it with a B, because that would have been 11.
Yeah.
So this is pretty impressive, and I think they want to get that 10 even lower. So it'll be cool to see what comes out of it. Like I said, betas will start sometime next year, and my guess is we'll at least know when the release is at E3 2019.
And Google is 15, so that would be impressive for Microsoft to hit that.
Speed?
Yeah.
Okay.
The minimum for Google is 15 MB megabit per second.
Gotcha. And I think Microsoft was saying that they're actually averaging at 10. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. This week's news from the tubes on F5 Live is proudly powered by RiffTrax. Make fun of movies or, let the professionals do it for you. Mike Nelson, Bill Corbett, and Kevin Murphy, the former stars of Mystery Science Theater 3000, are back and doing what they do best, creating commentary for B-movie oddities and Hollywood blockbusters. B-movies like Phantom Creeps. I can't even make these things up. The way it works is for a couple of dollars, you download the MP3, you play it along with your DVD, Netflix, Amazon, wherever the movie happens to exist, and laugh. From time to time, they do have live shows. Right now, they don't have any scheduled, but hopefully we will hear about some new ones coming up. And of course, they also have their short films, those odd industry films and things that you used to watch in school when the teacher didn't want to teach. All of those are the kinds of things they make fun of. And you can find out about all of the short films and all of the full-length features by going to f5live.tv/rifftracks with an X. I keep that one line in that promo because it makes you laugh every week, Abram. When I say the teacher didn't want to teach. You laugh every week, and it makes me happy. Anyway, so, it's time to say farewell to Google+. It has been a long time coming. It's kind of been the butt of the joke kind of in the industry. Anytime you hear it spoken by somebody in the tech industry, it's usually in reference to only Google employees using it. Google has done a lot to try and either trick or force people to use it, including trying to integrate it into the Google Places reviews. They tried to force you to have a Google Plus account so you could comment on YouTube. And when they did that, YouTube commenting went down sharply, and Google Plus usage didn't go up, which I thought was fascinating. People would rather not comment on YouTube than have a Google Plus account, which should have told them something a long time ago. But it took until now, and the reason, the stated reason, who knows what the real reason is, but the stated reason is that there was a security breach in March, or at least there was a security problem discovered and patched in March of 2018 that was introduced in 2015 and sat open for the whole time. Unfortunately, Google Plus logs only stay for 2 weeks, so there's no telling if anybody ever actually took advantage of this whole. They patched it in March. The Wall Street Journal talked about it, wrote an article about it last week, and after that, Google said, "All right, we're done." Mostly, Google Plus is like weirdly integrated into the G Suite, which some companies use. And so that aspect will still be staying around, but the public service will be gone by mid-2019. And if you happen to be one of the non-Google employees who has data there that would like to get it out, Google has created an export process for you, but I would do it soon because, you'll forget about it. Most people did. Now I know Avram was a little more connected to it than others.
So I like Google Plus, and I'm sad to see it go. But I admit, and by the way, let's get this straight. if Google wanted to keep Google Plus there, the fact that it had a security breach that they have now patched is not is not a reason to shut it down.
7 months ago. They patched it
Right.
7 months ago.
So the reason that they're shutting it down is this is sort of an excuse to do something that they wanted to do, probably because it was an embarrassment to them. And, they had kind of given up on it a long time ago because, look, I mean, they're not even trying to get people to use it anymore.
They pulled out all of its integration. They even pulled the photos out into Google Photos, into its own standalone thing. Like, they've been gutting it for a while.
Yeah, they've been gutting it for a while. I think that's kind of, I think they should have, I mean, what do I know? But I think they should have doubled down on Google Plus, especially with the opportunity that's there with people not liking Facebook. I mean, I tend to think of Google as a more responsible tech company than Facebook. Maybe I'm wrong there, but like,
Maybe.
they're not just, now maybe what I liked about Google Plus and what maybe people didn't like about it was it just seemed to be less touchy-feely than Facebook. It seemed to be more sort of practical.
That probably had a lot to do with the type of people who were on there. It tended to be our type. It tended to be tech people who were in there.
Yes, true, right? Like, so I never used it for any of the cute stuff either. Like, I never posted any pictures of my family on there or anything like that. I would use it to post articles on it, and I actually had, because I was in somebody's recommended circle at one time, I somehow amassed like 9,000 or 10,000 followers.
Nice.
On Google Plus. So I liked that. I was like, hey, let me keep posting to Google Plus. And then when everybody started to fade away from it, I didn't like make a regular habit of posting to it anymore either.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a shame. I kind of would like them to, I mean, the integration with your Google stuff is good. I mean, imagine if they could use that as a platform to get everybody to use Google for chat, although Google's chat strategy is still extremely confusing, between Hangouts and Meet and how many other Google chat services are there?
Yeah, several. That it's definitely their most confused brand.
Yeah. By the way, I was just looking this up. On the day that this was announced, which I guess was like a week ago, I got at like a press pitch saying and who pitches these things? There's a petition to save Google Plus at change.org.
Oh, I got that too.
So I was just checking to see how they did. And it's still going on, and 29,000 people have signed out of their goal of 35,000. And there are a couple of other, like if you search change.org, there are a couple of other petitions that do the same thing, that say the same thing.
I would just like to point out that Google employs 48,000 people.
I don't know that Google employees want to keep it.
No, it goes back to that joke that only Google employees used Google Plus.
I know. The thing that is, though, like, this is actually, I think, a really bad idea. Like, unless Google's plan is to come out with another social network.
Number 5.
Yeah, because I don't think that, I mean, this is an area where, like, they're letting Facebook own, and Google has the expertise to do it better. And technologically speaking, Google Plus was better.
Yeah.
Than Facebook. It had better technology. It had integration with your other stuff that Facebook doesn't have. So, like, I guess it failed. In my opinion, it just failed because the momentum was on Facebook's side, so people didn't want to switch. So you had people who were sort of, technically astute trying it.
Right. Which would explain why it was the tech people who were living over there.
Yeah. So, In that respect, it's sad. I guess it was sort of somewhere between Facebook and LinkedIn for me. But I feel like, Google has Google controls a lot of the things that people use socially, like their mail, their calendar, so I don't know. This would be a good opportunity for them if they could get it right. I don't know what it would take for them to get it right, though.
Yeah, and here's the thing: neither do they. That's been their problem because before Plus there was Wave, and even Google didn't know what that product was.
Yeah, well,
and then there was Buzz, which almost sued them out of existence when that woman got attacked by her ex-husband because they gave him her location.
Yeah.
That was I don't think they understand social in the same way that Microsoft has tried. Microsoft's had 3 social networks, and Microsoft doesn't get it either. Google doesn't get it. It may just be out of their capability.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not sure what it means to understand social. Maybe I don't understand well enough.
I don't.
Is it just possible that this is sort of like a popularity contest, and then if you get enough of the cool kids doing it,
yes,
it's just going to take on a life of its own. So it's not like there was anything that was wrong with Google Plus. Functionality wise, it was very similar to Facebook, but better. I don't think it was necessarily the design, although it wasn't the prettiest looking social network. It didn't give you the feels or whatever.
I don't know.
But
Facebook doesn't either, though. Facebook's one of the ugliest sites, top 100 sites on the net.
So, why was MySpace so popular at the time that it was? So,
why did people go to MySpace over High Five? Why did people migrate to MySpace from High Five, and why did people migrate to Facebook from MySpace? Who knows?
And there will be another one.
Yep, somebody will unseat Facebook. It just seems like it's not going to be Google.
Yeah. So, just to point out, I don't know what it takes. It could just be dumb luck.
It could be. I think they sealed their fate with their heavy-handed tactics when they tried to force people into using Google Plus on Places and YouTube and stuff like that. I think the heavy-handedness is what sealed their fate, because they didn't. Why was Gmail a success for them? Because it had this playful, oh, you can't join. Oh, yes, you can. Just ask a friend. It had this playful growth strategy to it, whereas you've got Google Plus where they're you're going to use it or you can't comment on YouTube. It was very draconian versus the more playful nature of Gmail. I think the heavy-handed nature is the thing that kept younger people off of it, which if you don't get the young people on a social media site, you're done.
They should find some way of leveraging YouTube, because YouTube is very popular. It's still, the cool kids still go to YouTube.
And that's what they were trying to do. They just did it wrong. Anyway, you've got 6 or 7 months to get your stuff out of there if there's stuff that only exists there, which I can't imagine anybody has any data that only exists in Google+. But if you do, go get it out now. This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. You know your basic features. You know you get free shipping, sometimes same day, sometimes 2 hour, depending on where you are. And that's great, but there's a lot of other features that you may not know about. For example, Amazon Prime Music. Unlimited streaming of several million tracks included in your existing Prime subscription. Amazon Prime Video with a whole bunch of original content, movies, TV shows, documentaries, plus licensed content, all included in your subscription. You get Amazon Prime Photos, which allows you to back up photos from your device to Amazon Web Services. Again, included in your subscription. My favorite is Twitch Prime, which gives you one free subscription to a Twitch account of your choosing. We'd be very happy if you would use it on PLUGHITZ Live, but you can subscribe to any channel for free, and you get free games every month. Just like PlayStation Network or Xbox Live, you get free games every month, and once they're yours, they're yours. So, and there's a whole bunch of other benefits as well. We've put together a list of our favorites at f5live.tv/prime. And if you're not already a subscriber, we've got a free 30-day trial over there as well. Speaking of streaming services, this isn't quite the topic, but about a week and a half ago, a report came out that showed that as the number of video streaming services rises, so does the amount of video piracy. And so, because as Avram and I have talked about time and time again, you're probably only going to subscribe to one, maybe two. Prime is probably one of them because you likely already have it. So maybe you have Netflix, maybe you have Hulu. Well, Family Guy is only on Hulu, no, let's go with this. Futurama is only on Hulu, but Disenchantment, which is from the same team, is only on Netflix. So you can only watch one or the other. So what do people do? They go pirate the other ones. And so with that, AT&T, who now owns what was Time Warner and is now Warner Media, has announced that they will be bringing another video streaming service to the market. They have not given it a name, but it will encompass basically all of the Warner Media brands. They intend to start with what is currently HBO Now and kind of expand out from there. My guess is, based on that it will be similar to how Hulu and Amazon function with their additional channel packages. Hulu has the ability to add Showtime. Amazon has Showtime and HBO and a number of other channels that you can add to your subscription for less than doing it on cable. And my guess is that this will work similarly. There'll be some packages in there, and then like an on-demand kind of thing for Warner Media content. And then also from some partners such as DC Comics, apparently is going to be somehow wrapped up in here. Not terribly surprising considering Warner Brothers produces the DC movies, so it's not terribly surprising that Warner and DC are tied up in this. So, but here's the thing: DC just launched their own streaming service. Yes, they did. Just for DC. So how does that factor in? It's probably the stuff that Warner has the rights to, the stuff that they produce. And who knows? I mean, maybe it won't be exclusive. Maybe the Warner stuff will be on both services. Who knows? Because I think that Warner owns DC, right? So like, do they? I'm pretty sure that Warner. I mean, I don't know how it's all broken out, but I think I think Time Warner, it owns DC. So like, Warner Brothers owns DC. I did not realize that. So if DC is owned by Warner Brothers, but DC is starting its own channel, it's like now you've got competing channels that are owned by the same company. Although Comcast owns 30% of Hulu and also has an Xfinity streaming service. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I said that and I immediately regret it because my Tom's Hardware is owned by Future PLC Publishing, which now also owns several other websites that also cover tech. So,
and we compete with each other. So, it's we're competitors, I guess you could say. So
Right.
so it's
Cooperation is the term that First Robotics uses.
uh, so I'm not against that per se, but I'm just saying the amount of streaming services is really
Ridiculous.
here's $1 million idea, $1 billion idea, in fact. Somebody should come up with a cable service for streaming services. Like maybe the problem that people have now, granted, people sign up for streaming because they don't like cable, I guess, but now you could be a person who has cable, as I do, and still feel like you've got to sign up for a bunch of streaming services because there's all this good original content that you can't get elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't matter how many channels I have on my TV, I still can't get Netflix to watch all the cool original Netflix series.
Right.
And I can't get CBS All Access to watch Star Trek Discovery. And I can't get this new DC channel, which I'd like to see, and I can't get the new upcoming Disney channel that's going to have the new Star Wars series. So but one of the problems is, I think it feels more painful to look at your credit card bill and be like $10, $15, $10,
Yeah.
$15. Like, wouldn't it be a little bit more appealing to someone if it was like, okay, here's your package, right? Just like you have with cable, here's your streaming package, and you pay one price and you get all these services and you get billed once. Now, it might cost you the same. Maybe they could fix it so, because the service is driving like revenue to them, that maybe they give you some kind of a discount off of what you would normally pay for Netflix. Maybe it's like, oh, by combining your Netflix and your Prime and all these other things, you get, you save a little bit of dough.
Sure.
Although these are all competing services. But cable, is full of competing networks, right?
Yeah.
HBO and Showtime are not, and Stars are not, they're competing.
Sure.
So I don't know.
So you're pitching the idea of a streaming bundle, not like Tuesdays at 9 p.m. is Stranger Things.
No.
Okay.
No. I'm just saying, like, one bill, one credit card charge
to rule them all.
That gives you all the ones that you have, so you don't feel as bad about spending all these things. And then you'll have one control panel. Here's the convenience too. You'll have one control panel where you can turn them on and off. Like, okay, I can unsubscribe my subscription from CBS All Access right now and lower my bill. And then I can resubscribe, when Star Trek comes back on. Not that they would like that, but HBO apparently has real issues with, like, when Game of Thrones season ends, all of a sudden everyone's canceling their subscription. So
yeah, that makes sense. You are a bad person, just so you know. The domain that I want for this idea is available. All right. I don't have money to buy it right now. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, yet another streaming service coming to make my idea here, Avram's idea here, with my little brand name more reasonable. We don't know a whole lot of information. We don't know a name. We don't know pricing or anything like that, or even specifics on what content will be available. What we do know is that it will launch in the fourth quarter of 2019. So between now and then, we'll probably hear, I don't know, what the first show will be. And then it'll launch sometime at the end of next year. So about a year. And that is our show. For those of you who joined us live, thank you. We appreciate it. There were a number of people in and out of the chat rooms tonight. Definitely appreciate that. If you weren't able to join us live, that is okay. If you want to in the future, normally Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, f5live.tv/join us. If you can't join us live, that's okay. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe, which is all new. You will see all of our shows, all of our feeds available there, and all of the myriad of places that you can follow us. There's all kinds of new buttons showing up on the subscribe page, because like we've always said, we want to be in all of the places that you listen to content, and so we are quickly expanding where we are available, and as we do, we're making it available for you to see easily. I think that's it. Thank you again for joining us, and on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Abram.
And we will see you guys back next time. Ciao.